Welcome back to What's on My Needles. This week I am actually having to do some major restocks on theatrical crafts. So I am working on hedgehogs, lots and lots of baby hedgehogs. Spike here did sell out, so instead of restocking with 5, which is my standard, I'm restocking with 14 in hopes that he won't sell out quite as quickly. So Spike is worked on the back and then the tummy, then his little feet, and then his face. So there are a couple of interesting techniques in this. A lot of them are going to be very similar to the dragon because Spike did come first and the dragon was inspired by Spike. So let me get set up and we will get going. Please remember to like, follow, and subscribe to these social media platforms. Links will be provided in the description below. So I've done the cast on and the first row, which is knit on the wrong side, so it's a line of purl bumps. And now I'm going to show you how the little spikes are made. So that's just my salvage edge, so a slip one and a knit one. But this is the interesting part. So I'm going to knit one, leaving the stitch that I just worked on the needle. Basically yarning around my index finger, putting the needle back through that stitch, knitting, then pulling the first stitch over the second stitch, and knit one. So again, knit one, yarn around your finger, knit it again, and pull the first stitch over. Now, because I've done this a lot, I've gotten kind of fast at it. The original instructions that I saw said to loop around your thumb rather than your finger. I find it easier to go around my finger, and maybe that's because I'm left-handed and therefore impacting my right index finger doesn't bug me. But obviously if you try to do this technique, you can use whichever finger works for you. I also first learned a variation of this in embroidery rather than in knitting, so I was kind of used to what the whole thing was about beforehand. And it was just kind of fun to see how it translated into a slightly different medium. So it's worked like that all the way across and then purl back. And then the next time I just offset the little loops from each other so that it gives the hedgehog a kind of fluffy appearance. But I will be right back with how to work the belly. If you would like to help fund this page, please find me on Patreon at Theatrical Crafts. So, off camera, I have finished the back, and I have put the neck edge stitches on waste yarn, and I have also picked up the stitches down the left-hand side of the body and the bottom, so where his butt is. So let me show you how to pick up the stitches along the right-hand side of the body. So I'm going to insert my needle right in the selvage stitch and pull up a loop. I'm going to do a reverse E cast on, so I'm making a little loop in my yarn and I'm trapping it so that it can't unravel. So it's not just a yarn over, it's got a twist in it. And then I'm going to pick up 3 more stitches. And then I'm going to do another one of those reversey cast-ons and 3 more stitches. So at this point, what I'm actually doing is I'm getting a total of 80 stitches onto the needles, even though the tummy only calls for 40 stitches. It's because the entirety of the next round is either knit 2 together or SSK, depending on which side of the body I'm on. So I've already done that on the neck edge, but for everything else I will be doing that in the next round. But this does show the downside of these shorter needles, of everything just barely fits. So now that everything is on the needles and I am back up to the neck edge, I'm going to go ahead and start working across the neck. Again, since I've already done the knit 2 together all the way across, I do not need to do it again. And then when I get to the next side, I will start decreasing. These decreases are part of what make the little body curve the way that it does. So I'm going to go ahead and insert my needle into those first 2 stitches and pull up. I'm also going to pull that first stitch taut. For me, this is an SSK. If you've watched me for long enough, you know my stitches are a little twisted compared to normal. So if your stitches are not laying this way, you will need to slip, slip, and then knit through the back loop. Just to get everything laying in the right direction, but this does put the right hand stitch on top of the left hand stitch, so it is a left leaning decrease. So that took my 20 stitches down to 10, and now everything fits so much nicer. And now I'm going to do the same thing across the bottom, but I'm only going to go halfway. A, because this is how far it would be until I change direction, and B, if I pull out a finished one, that's where his little tail goes. So his tail is, remember, a button loop. So I need to put the button loop in at this point because I don't want to add it later. So I'm going to take an itty bitty crochet hook. So not quite as small as to do the eyes, but still small. And I'm actually going to insert it into the dark brown yarn and pull up a loop. And now I'm just going to chain 10. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'm going to take the loop on my hook and place it over the first loop on the left hand side. Trying really hard not to split the yarn. I don't always succeed at that. And now I'm going to do knit 2 together all the way around. And at this point, the belly starts being really, really normal. I've got a couple purl pads to do his feet, and I need to close this gap up, which will be done with a simple 1/1 cable stitch in the next round. And then it's just decreases to his belly button. And that's it. So I will see you next time on What's on My Needles. This video was sponsored by Sam Cardenas, my stylist at Color Street. To find a link to my party through her, please check the description below.